And we are live.
Live we are.
Yes, sir.
KPRA?
Yeah. I just gotta, do the whole black buzz thing to my There we go. And here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Hope everybody is doing all right out there. Welcome to another episode of Black Buzz. I'm here, it's KP, and I'm with Miss Shay, right? How you doing, Miss? You all right?
I'm fabulous. I'm fabulous. It's starting to
How?
get warm over here, so we're good.
Okay. Um, Lamar isn't here today, right? But shout outs to Lamar still. And Tia is not here. She's doing her thing out there. Just remember to support her on Instagram and YouTube, and she's on Facebook too, right? All three platforms.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
On
she's
the
the. I
TikTok,
know for sure YouTube and Instagram,
Instagram, yeah.
right? T Kicks. That's the name of her business. T Kicks. She does shoe customization. So if you want something done to your shoes, just hit her up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at T Kicks. And we are on. You want to tell them our platforms, Shay?
We are on Instagram, blackbuzz.to. We are
Uh huh.
on YouTube and Facebook, blackbuzz.to. You can check us out. If you want to find a particular video, just type in blackbuzz.to. It will direct you to our link tree and you'll get any of our platforms.
And if you want to, if people want to reach out to us, what would they do?
They can send us an email at blackbuzzto@gmail.com, or you
Hmm.
can message us at any of our social media, and I will be quick to respond. Give me like 24 hours.
Quick, okay, 24 hours.
24 hours.
Quick enough.
Uh, all right, we have special guests here, man. We have let me go to your bio here. We have Mr. Kwabena William Johnson. Did I
Yes.
pronounce your first name correct?
You said it beautifully, yes.
All right. Try to do
You're gonna say it
justice
as good
to
as you say. I mean, when I'm at home, I say Kwabna, but
it. Okay.
Kwabna is good enough.
You're the professional, but if you give me a passing, I'm good. All
No, you
right.
did it good. You did it good. I've had it butchered throughout my life.
I'm gonna read a little bit of the bio and then we're gonna jump into the interview.
Sounds
Um,
beautiful.
all right. William Johnson Kwabena is a young man who grew up in Jane and Finch. Oh, that it touched my heart right there. That part right there touched my heart. I grew up in Jane and Finch.
Already?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Jane and Finch, man, all the way. With his experience in Jane and Finch, he realized that his calling was social work or otherwise give back to the people in the form of servitude. After York University, William opened a hair shop in a joint venture. His first business wasn't as successful, but he learned some very valuable lessons, which helped him navigate the next couple years until he was able to open another business, this time a grocery store, in an attempt to bolster his community. He realized that the best way to create change is through economic empowerment, which results in the community being able to sustain itself independently through economics. In order to promote this ideology, I have created a Black business directory as well as every Saturday I go out and locate, support, and patronize local business with a new venture called SSBS, Support Small Business Saturdays. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Man, no worries, man. No worries.
Very appreciative to be on this platform.
Listen, if you're black, we want you here. If you're doing something in the community, we want you even more,
That's what I
man.
love to hear.
Yes, sir. Unapologetically black. That's what we are
Yes,
on here.
that is what I need to hear. No
Yeah,
watered down. We need to get to it.
straight talk, man. Straight talk. So you are a black business owner and operator, right,
Hmm.
in the community. Talk to us about how this all began before we get to store and what you got there, what you're doing there. How did you get into doing that?
Well, as you said in my bio,
Hmm.
I grown up
Fill
in
in the
Jane and Finch.
gaps.
I
Fill in the
Pardon?
gaps. Fill in the gaps that I didn't have in the bio.
Oh, so also we forgot to mention that. So growing up in Jane and Finch, we disproportionately we're affected. Like we're poor. I don't want to use too much big words. I just want to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
use language that everyone could consume. So we're
Hmm.
poor, man. So growing up poor, you take a lot more risks. You're susceptible to a lot more um habits that are not conducive to you being successful in life, such as bad eating habits, certain practices, the smoking, the all types of things that are not usually conducive to success further down the line.
Right.
So I was blessed enough to be able to go to university.
Hmm.
My first year in university, I joined the media team
Hmm.
at York, and I started promoting.
Right.
And once I started promoting, it taught me how to network, and it taught me the importance of networking.
Hmm.
While networking, I got some ideas. Well, I used to promote clubs, right? So I was always around females. I was around fashion and stuff. So he said, you know what? The little money I have here, I'm gonna open a hair business. So
Hmm.
it was a hair. I had hair products, and on the other side we had a salon.
Okay.
Problem is, it's hard to get into a business like that. One, if you don't do hair, and two,
Hmm.
if you don't know someone immediately to you who does hair,
Right.
because I didn't know that a lot of the revenue would come from the barbershop part, right? I thought I'll open it, I'll put up an ad, and I'll just have barbers and stylists come in, and I'd be good to go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you don't understand hair or you don't even understand business for that much, I put up ads and people will come in, and because I was young at the time I was only 25.
Hmm.
I had barbers that would come in like at 2 p.m., leave at 4. Oh my goodness, I went through a lot.
Hmm.
um, so that first joint venture, it didn't do as well. We were open for
Yeah.
about 2.5 years.
Right.
We decided, instead of renewing on the third year, to just cut our losses and go our separate ways because we didn't meet the necessary traction, and our
Hmm.
rent was gonna go up.
Right.
So from then, I had I was back in social work. I was back in the school, and I realized there's still a glaring disparity between blacks and the rest of society. And I said we could go for friends, we could go for this, but the only thing that's going to help us is money,
Yeah.
economic empowerment. Because what I realized is every other community had a base, which when stuff goes bad within their community, they have a base where they can go to, and that starts always from economics. So, and actually, let me rewind a bit. My mom opened a grocery store out in the east in Scarborough.
Scarborough. Okay.
So I seen the dynamics of that, and I was pretty interested for a year and a half, but I had a bad experience from the hair salon, so I wasn't thinking about business no more.
You're still recovering. We get you.
Yeah, still recovering. It's like a boxer. I got up at 9, but I was just running. I was trying to hold on. I was running around. So
Yeah.
um, it, it was a hard leap of faith to want to take.
Hmm.
But I read a book one of the many books that changed my life, which was Powernomics by Dr. Cloud Anderson,
Claude Anderson. Yes, sir.
one of my idols and one of my mentors, one of my idols. And what I read, it said we will never get out the situation if our focus is not economics. And he said something very interesting in the book. He said they may not like us because we're black, but they're able to disenfranchise us and abuse us because we're poor.
Hmm.
And thinking about that, I was thinking, how do we help ourselves get out of this situation? Like, what can I do? What can be my part to help my community?
Hmm.
Because in social work, I realized it's a lot of it's political, very political. the people you want to service, especially black people, there's minimal resources for us, and we can't talk unapologetically black. We have to kind of water it down and be like, I get where they're coming from. Where in reality, I don't get where the hell you're coming from. That doesn't make sense. But when you're working, when someone pays your bills, you can't speak the way you need to speak.
I was I had an assignment, and the black guy said a lot of time we have to manicure our blackness to fit into their world, and that thing has stuck with me for life. The fact that he put in that term, we have to manicure it so that we can fit. And you just said something that just triggered that. I'm like, it's funny how that something goes across the board. Every time, no matter what you do, talking about economics, you're talking about business, you always have to manicure yourself so that you
Yes,
don't come off too black or urban.
exactly. Um, Also, I was working for a good company, and one day someone just came and told me they told me flat out, if you want to move up, you're gonna have to cut your hair. And I said, man, like it was off the record, but that made me realize, if I'm not gonna be judged on my merit, there's a huge problem, right?
Hmm.
Because appearance is a lot, but the merit of my work, it should be a meritocracy. The merit of my work is what should propel me or either take me away from positions. It shouldn't be because of my hair, right?
Right, right, right.
So I understood economics was the only way moving forward. So I was busting my brain of different ways that I was gonna be able to help the community through economics, right? And I ran into a lot of things. I said I wanted to do car service. There, so many ideas. Nothing really stuck. But the grocery store is stuck for two reasons. One, we don't have access to a lot of food from the diaspora.
Hmm.
We don't have enough. And two, we don't eat healthy, and we don't do business amongst each other.
Right.
So that's what I sought out to do, and that's what the grocery store. It's diverse because you're able to service people from the Caribbean diaspora, Africa from east to west, and even our Latino brothers that choose to identify as black, right? You could service the whole diaspora through food. Food's an international, is a universal global language. Food, music are two universal global languages. So that's why the grocery store was always something that seemed like the right thing to do and is a right fit.
Sorry, how did you get vendors? Because I know it's a competitive market. You're dealing with big stores like the PC brand and all of that.
Oh, for
And
sure.
also you deal with a lot of Asian stores. You live in Brampton. So you're in Brampton. So how did you get vendors actually work with you being the new kid on the block?
Well, one good thing, maybe I left this out. A very good lesson that my father taught me. I was I worked at No Frills for 4 years, and I'll never forget. I was 19 one day. We went shop. I used to be the assistant produce manager. We went shopping one day. We went to another store, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get the groceries. You're gonna go get the fruit." And I looked at him like, "How am I gonna get the fruit?" And then he stopped and he said, "But wait, you're telling me that these people are letting you order fruits and you don't understand how to pick and what's ripe and good fruits?"
Hmm.
And he said, "You can't just be working to work. Every time you work, you got to be learning something. You got to be paying attention. You never know what you can learn. Make sure you network. Make sure you do the right things." And from that day moving forward, um, I paid attention to things. I paid attention to vendors. I paid attention to who were the good vendors. I paid attention to who owned certain companies. And I never knew that it would end up servicing me in the future. But I had all those contacts because I was an assistant produce manager, and I would CC myself on certain emails. So I went back to some of my emails from 10 years ago, and I'll just hit up certain partners and say, "Hey, remember I used to do shipping and receiving at No Frills? I started my own venture now. Let me know what you could do." Some people, my quota wasn't big enough, but some people were happy and they're like, "Oh, I remembered you," and they were able to help me out. So that helped a lot. And truthfully, the community, there'll be people like, "Hey, I have an uncle who does importing, exporting. I have a friend who his mom has a shop. His dad works at a meat shop. His dad works at a fish factory." So networking was very key, and I attribute a lot of the networking that I was able to get was from my days of club promoting, actually. that actually helped me a lot. So everything fits. So everything, like everything you do in life, you should take lessons out of it. Like my dad said, us like don't just. He said, be a sponge, not a rag. Sponge soaks up the information. A rag just soaks up it, but it doesn't soak it up effectively, right? So he always said, be a sponge, not a rag.
Shout out to
So
Pops,
once I
boy. Shout out to Pops.
so yeah, so I learned, I learned networking from promoting. I learned product detail. I learned how we rotated fruits, how long we kept it, shelf life. I learned those things from No Frills. Also the the vendors. I learned I had a I knew what sold more, like what type of apples sold, what type of fruits and tropical fruits, and I seen what people were into. So
So
those experiences.
yeah, talk to us about go into a little bit more details in terms of how some of those things work. Because as a regular shopper, we just come in and we get what we want to get. We may have a question or two in terms of product or whatever the case is. But you talk about like rotating, just for the sake of
Oh,
curiosity.
so when we say rotating, so what happens is
Mm,
when so whatever fruit is on the display,
yeah.
what they do is they take off that old fruit,
Hmm.
they put the new fruit under, and then they put the old fruit on top. So a tip, if you're ever going to a store, dig in the bottom. That's where the new good fruit is. The fruit that hasn't been out for a long time, the fruit that hasn't been dropped yet. That's where that one is. And the
Oh,
strategy is to put the new one because the old one has a shorter shelf life because it's out longer, and just for presentation, um the visually how things look, people look from the bottom up. I never understood that till I was reading certain manuals. People look from the bottom up of how things look visually. So um it's all the good fruit from now on. If you go to a grocery store, the good grapes are in the back, the good apples are in the bottom, so you better dig to the bottom. The good cucumber, good everything is going to be at the bottom, and that's just to help with shelf life and just presentation.
Funny enough, you said that because I have worked retail. I've been a manager restaurant for years ago. So everything you're saying, we had to learn how to rotate things, how to make it look, and then so. But we knew when we wanted to eat where we're going versus when we
Exactly.
go to clients. And then we had to learn how to do that. I was a manager for. I was working there for almost 9 years, manager for 7. And so we every time you have to come in, you have to rotate, you have to pull up, put stuff on the bottom, make sure it looks neat. And that's why anytime,
Hmm.
even for me growing up, I grew up in the Caribbean, so I went to the actual market, outside the yard, in the big open space. So my mom always taught me, make sure you move them over, always roll them to the side, pull up, and then put them back. So even now I go
Hmm.
to the grocery store, I people look at me funny, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. I when I put it in the fridge, I want it to last at least 3 days versus
Exactly.
there's mold on it. So yeah,
Exactly.
you gotta teach them from the young.
You got to, because another thing they do is we have something called reduced fruit. So what they do is fruit that they know is about to go bad, they put that out there and they put an enticing price on it. But if you don't eat it right away, did we lose him? I can't hear. My audio's Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay, I can hear you again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we you got to be careful when you buy that fruit that's on sale. It has a shelf life for 1 or 2 days. I only really suggest that you buy something that you're gonna use that moment, and bananas, like if you're gonna make banana breads or something. But that reduced fruit, stay away from it because it looks like a bargain, but it's a devil's bargain. It's that fruit is beat up, it's bruised, and it's already called for it. We call it shrink, right? So we've already sent the report to Loblaws that hey, we lost out on, let's say,
Yeah.
100 apples. So
So like
Loblaws gives you a credit for that,
yeah, the
but
food
you
waste already
you
got
if you
covered
sell
for.
that, it's extra profit, right?
Yeah.
So
So what would you
yeah, that's
think about, okay, so once you got into this the decision that I'm going to go into the grocery store business. What was that transition? I know you have to go get registered, you have to get loans, you have to do this. What was that transition? And also keep in mind, we want to hear the black experience because it's different.
very different.
Yes. Tell us more about that.
So obviously finding location. Just finding location in itself is hard enough because I'm gonna be honest. Commercially, I can't tell you too many black real estate agents I've ever dealt with.
Hmm.
I tried. So commercial, there's not a lot. I know in the residential sector, there's a lot more, but commercially, there's not. And the ones that are there, they're like the top of the top. So they cost a lot, and they're very good, right? So off the bat, I'm starting at a disadvantage because I'm dealing with either I was dealing with a Indian real estate agent and then an Italian real estate agent, and off the jump, they don't really take you too serious. They're not really expecting much from you, and the type of places they're showing me was like, come on, I'm trying to run a business here. They're showing me little hole in the spot, little hole in the wall spots. They're showing places with no foot traffic, places where it's like, come on, why would I want to be here?
True.
So just off the bat, just the initial startup is hard,
Mm.
and then getting back to the vendors, a lot of the stuff are owned by our competitors, like from other races. So I'm trying to go pick up some stuff. I'm trying to get a deal, and then once they find out I have my own store, the deal that I was gonna get previously is like, oh no, you're my competition. So instead of selling me something at $2.99 because that's what you sell it at, you're gonna sell it to me at $3.49. So it makes it hard to compete, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes people will come in and be like, oh, this is too expensive, and I'll be like, if I give it to you at the price I got it for, I might as well just send you to the place to get it because
Hmm.
it's the game they play, right? They know you're gonna be their competition, so if they could sell something for $2.99
Yeah.
and they retail it for $2.99, they're gonna sell it to you for $3.29 just to make sure that you can't beat them, unless you're not good at business, unless you're saying, oh, you're gonna take a 30-cent loss off of each product, and they do it strategically, right?
Hmm.
So that goes into a lot of the thinking that I was saying. Economic empowerment's the only way
Hmm.
because they can price in every facet of life. We just get priced out, and it's usually due to money. Politics, our politicians don't do the bidding. Why? Because someone else can pay them more, and they're able to talk things that don't benefit us.
Yep.
Um,
Sorry, sorry about that. I got knocked out there for a second, but I'm back now.
no problem. You got up at the 7 count. No problem. We got you back.
Yeah, man.
Bank loans. When you can give a loan to a group of any other group that has 7, 8 people who have assets and stuff, you want to like I learned a rule from a banker who told me the bank only wants to give money to people who don't need money. That's who the bank's
Mm,
like giving money to. People who are low risk and people who don't need money. People
mm.
who need money, the system is so corrupted that when they know you need money, they give you the money at such a high rate that they know it's hard to pay it back, or they make more money
Hard-
off of it.
True.
Yeah.
So just from the initial startup of just the real estate agent, just trying to find a real estate agent who would look in my best interest, that wasn't just stereotyping me and saying, let me get this guy a cheap spot. He looks young, let me get him a cheap spot. Or even just the respect of calling timely and respecting all these things. I was I was on a rush. Like everything was, there's no care to it. And I know in business it's not supposed to be care, but when you're putting in money, getting loans and all this stuff, you want to feel like someone's in your best interest. I personally did not feel that until the last person I met. He was business oriented, but he did work in my best interest. He got me a pretty good spot.
So, so question on. I mean, I don't know if you had answered this when I got knocked off there. When did you start the supermarket?
We started the process in early January of 2020. It's funny, we
Okay.
opened actually the weekend that they locked everything down, and we
Yeah, that's
remained
what I was
closed.
about to say.
Yes, and we remained. So we opened the weekend of March 21st,
Yeah.
and everything was locked down. I remember the first original lockdown, nothing was really open. Only like
Mhm.
the grocery stores and the Walmarts, like everything wasn't open. So I didn't
Yeah.
really officially open till April. I want to say almost a month. So a
Mm.
full month, not operating, not nothing. I'll be honest with you. I was thinking of insurance claims. Like I was like, how am I gonna survive? Like, what is this? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that first month was tough, and what made it more tough was because of the uncertainty of the virus. A lot of people weren't even coming outside, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, unfortunately, I'll tell you what gave a huge boost, and this is why it's so unfortunate because in our culture, we usually times we only capitalize off of our suffering, and if it's not our suffering, it's our talents, we get exploited. But um, June started everything, and that's just because the killing of George Floyd. Everyone wanted to support Black after that.
Black.
June was
Okay.
June was so good because of that killing. Like, unfortunately,
Mm.
like
Mm.
unfortunate circumstance, but like everyone wanted to support Black. I was getting support from every angle. So
Mm.
it made me say, you know what, we're gonna do this. Because before that, I was like, how are we gonna survive? We're already a month in the hole without selling one product.
Mm.
We didn't understand what like, and because we weren't open the year before, we couldn't even get the loan. So we're just in a precarious spot. We have a 4-year loan, a 4-year lease, and the landlord's saying, hey, I gotta pay bills too, buddy. So that first month, those first 2 months were very precarious. I didn't really see a path forward. I was sad, but
Where specifically in Jane and Finch is the store located?
It's not.
no, the store's in Brampton. I'm from Jane and Finch.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. All right. You grew up in Jane and Finch, but the store's in Brampton.
Yes.
Okay, my bad. My bad. Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
I just want to ask a question because I'm throwing words right now. Do you rep Jane and Finch hard? I'm throwing words because somebody on this call reps Jane and Finch like he still lived there. So
Listen, I see the beauty of Jane and Finch, so I rep it all the way. I don't let you guys put the bad stigma on it. There's so much talent, so much beauty, so much creativity. So I rep. A lot of people are like, yo, aren't you ashamed? I say, you crazy? If you're able to navigate out of Jane and Finch and get into the real world is nothing. If you're able to come out of a lion's den in a Shark Tank like that, the real world is nothing, man. Growing up in an environment where everyone's hungry and not too much people understand, and if you're able to navigate and get through that, these people in the real world, once you get your finances up, these people in the real world is nothing.
okay, I just wanted to throw words. It's just you have to But no, I lived in the area for like 3 years out of my life. I live Jane and Shoreham. In the back there is Niska.
Oh wow,
Niska.
that's my side.
Yes, I used to live there for a bit.
If we say Jane and Finch, come on now, we're gonna know Shoreham. Let's get there.
It's not Shoreham. I lived in the back in Niska, so I also went to York. So that's why when you say certain things, I'm like, okay, because I know the area and I know the stigma that comes with it. And a lot of times when you put that, especially those type of addresses on any document, you're automatically out the book. They don't even think about looking at it. It's like, okay, thank you for, as soon as you're done, rip garbage. They dispose of you. And
my first like sorry.
Go ahead.
You can finish.
No, you go ahead. I'm listening.
My first like corporate gig was like my first major gig was a gig with Kellogg's, and I had to lie about my address. I had to use my aunt's address in Vaughan. So that's just to show you, right?
Yeah.
I applied a couple times and I never got no consideration till I used that Vaughan address.
It happens. And that's one reason I ask you about the Black experience of you opening the store. So no, the first 2 months, no traffic. Then all of a sudden we have that huge civil unrest in the US. And then it became pro-Black. I remember June 7th was Blackout Day, where you only support Black. So once that happened and you started to get the traffic, what happened after that? Like, was it constant or was it just for the show?
It was constant until September, mid-September. It was constant until September. And then they started pulling back again. So like other grocery stores get a boom when there's lockdown, but because we weren't as well known yet, that pullback killed all that foot traffic. But what gave a huge boost once again was in November when they did that when they did the lockdown before Christmas. That one, that lockdown. Oh man, so July, August was steady. September, up until after the first 2 weeks, it slowed down, and then October considerably slower, and then November was, but December, that when they announced that last lockdown, you would have thought there was a hurricane coming. Everything was stripped. Like people were buying stuff they didn't even need. Like people were buying, looking at stuff like, yo, how much is this? Like, so like they say.
When situations like that happen, like what do you like? It's okay with you if you get sold out like that? Like it's good.
Yes and no. As a business person, you got to be very flexible. So you got to use it to your advantage.
Right.
You gotta harp on like, hey, a lot of people visited me, so it's not you're like, don't be last, right? As opposed to like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm desolate, I have nothing, right? You gotta play on it play with people's hearts and minds. Like, hey, so many people been here,
Mhm.
don't be the next one to miss, right?
Mm.
You gotta roll with the punches, right? So as soon as something happens,
Right.
you got to be with it. Because if you let people think, oh man, there's nothing in here, no one will visit, right? But when like the ads I was putting up those days, like, hey, don't be the last one not to get nothing. With everyone locking down, make sure you visit us. We're open, we're essential, and as more stuff we're closing, people are rolling in, right? So I'm expecting that effect with this last one, but it seems like we've hit a fatigue. It's like, man, boy, what happened to you guys, man? Like, lock
Hmm.
us down again. Like that's how it feels. Like even the traffic on the roads is still heavy. I remember the first
Yeah. Yeah.
lockdown. I could get downtown in 20 minutes from Brampton, 25 max.
Yeah.
I was getting around the city. I was thinking to be a cab driver the way the way you can navigate through the city. I was saying, yo, let me just download Uber and put a mask and make a fortress and because driving was beautiful. But I think this time there was a fatigue and people are like, man, maybe I'll just take my chances because if you're just gonna keep me cooped up and locked up, I've done this for a year. So this time it's a little
Right.
bit different. I still see a lot of traffic. I still see a lot of people outside.
Is is
Yeah.
is is the area where you are in Brampton, is it like isn't it very saturated with stores? I know that you say you're getting a big boost of black folks coming in to support you. But you know, what makes, is it because you're a black business, or there are just a lot of folks who are just patronizing the business? Like there's a lot of different options.
I think for me personally, it goes back down to using transferable skills. Like
Yeah.
I said, with promoting, I used to be that guy who's outside the club
Hmm.
handing out flyers, CDs. So I'm willing to talk to a lot of people, and I believe in boots in the
Yeah.
ground. So there'll be times I'll have either
Mm.
my wife or I'll have my little sister at the store. Even sometimes my mom will be there, and I'll just be out handing flyers, doing the old way. Hey, there's a shop over here, this and that. When people start to hear stuff and they start to see you, first it's annoying. First they ignore you.
Mm.
You annoy them. They block you out. Then after a while, it's like, you know what? I always see this guy with his face. Let me go check out what's going on. And then once you get them in, you hook them. You find a way to get them. Like, hey, if nothing at all, I have. I just ask them, tell me some essentials you use, and I'll guarantee. Give me your number, and I'll guarantee to get it. And I'll give you a shout once I have it. Right. So it's always about constantly networking. Um,
Right.
the
Right.
weeks that I'm not advertising to the potential I'm supposed to, I see the difference in sales. I see the difference in traffic. So it's always about advertising. You have to look at it like this. McDonald's is a world renowned, like 2 year olds. They see that golden M, they know what it is. And you can't watch a 1 day of TV without seeing a McDonald's ad. How can me, who doesn't have that reach, not
Mm.
be advertising all the time? You won't go 1 day watching,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
it's just CP24. If you keep it on one channel, I guarantee you're going to see a McDonald's ad, an advertisement, a paid promotion, something. So someone like me who the following is small so far, I got to be on it all the time, right? A lot of our businesses either fail due to underfunding, under advertising, and not being motivated, right? You have to have all three when you're going in the
Right.
belly of the beast, right? I have a Freshco that's across the street, right? So there has to be stuff about me that sticks out as opposed to the Fresco. So I try and be very personable. I try and make it very diaspora heavy. I try and let black people feel like, be comfortable. I try and let whoever wants to be an ally, let them know that if you're coming in here, you're coming into a black space. So if you want to enjoy a black space, come in here, enjoy what we have, but don't ask me to cater towards you, right? Your money would be good too, but we need to circulate our
Mm.
money in our community. It goes back to being
Right. Right.
unapologetic black, right?
Sorry, you said earlier that your mom, she either has or she had a grocery store. How did
Still
that
has it.
went? Oh, perfect. So how does that influence the way you do things? Or
Uh,
is she wanna, because I realize you have an African background, and so does she come and help or does she come and take over?
Well, of course, as mommy, of course, there. Because her store is doing so well, oftentimes she'll be like, no, 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 you have to do it this way. No, no, no. And I always tell her, that like the demographics are different. Like where she's at, she's in a lower income neighborhood, but there's a lot of foot traffic. So um the presentation doesn't have to be as much. In her plaza, she has a LCBO and a Tim Hortons, right? So there's tons of foot traffic. So
Oh,
in her
okay.
store, it's I don't want to say it's more like free for all, but it doesn't have to like you don't have to worry as much as presentation, um, the whole environment as opposed to like in interacting with people. It doesn't have to like for me. I'm overly nice. I'm overly helpful because I'm still trying to build that customer base that lets them know like, hey, you're comfortable when you come here, right? For her, she's in an
Right,
area where
right.
there's so much buildings and so much foot traffic that um people just come into the store on their own, right? So because of the difference in demographics, and Brampton has a lot of homeowners. So when they're coming into a store, they kind of want to see it a certain way. They want it to look nice, smell nice, and especially with this virus, someone who owns property and they're more cognizant of things being a little bit more sanitary, things being spread out properly, and all those things, as opposed to people who are in lower income neighborhoods. Like, hey, I want to get what I get and get out. Right? Conversations don't matter as much. Is it cheap? Let me get in and out, and don't talk to me. I just finished work, but on our side in Brampton, people actually sit down, have convos, and we have long drawn out convos. And sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. Like, hey, man, I was doing some numbers here. I'm trying to let me concentrate before someone else comes in here, and it
Yeah,
works
yeah.
both. So the demographics make a huge, huge role, and she's in an area that has a lot of minorities, a lot of black,
Right, right.
a lot of black and like Indian minorities. Where I'm at, it's either Indian or white, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't come into our store. So we got to be realistic. I always got to be promoting and making sure that I'm hitting the hammer on the head. I'm advertising all the time because if not, I don't get as much walking traffic just because of where it is in Brampton and Brampton itself. Most people are gonna have cars. It's not like Toronto where the transit is easily
Transit. Yeah,
accessible,
yeah,
and most
yeah.
people have to have cars. Maybe they own houses. Their income's just a little bit higher, so they're expecting a little bit more, right? And that's just the
Are
reality of it.
are you also living in Brampton as well?
Yes.
Okay, okay. That's what
Yes.
I guess that helps in terms of running. So in terms
Yes.
of you were talking about different things that you have to do to distinguish yourself because you have other grocery stores. Um, you're giving us like a list of those things. Of course, conversation is one. Um, um, in terms of the products that you have in there, like any particular thing, or it's catering mainly to our folks, our community type
Yes.
thing.
I try and make it as Afrocentric as possible. I try and make it as much as the diaspora as possible. So I
Yeah,
spy all the time. I go into Fresco because they have an international aisle, which is nonsense. Their
yeah, yeah.
international aisle is nonsense. They'll have three things from the
Mhm.
Caribbean, one thing from Africa, two things from India. It's nonsense. So I go in there and I see what they have. Um, I always try and undercut them, right? Because the
Mhm.
one good thing working at No Frills, I do realize that they don't really get the deals because they're not buying in big bulk as well. Like they're not buying 1,000 pieces of certain stuff because like say they're buying Aki, they'll buy 10, 15, and a manufacturer is not willing to give you a deal on a small amount like that. If you buy 200,
Mhm.
you're more likely to get a deal. But the way they see it, they're like, they'll go to Danforth or whatever. Like I've had my man just tell me like, don't order too much of that, man. They don't really want that here. If they want to go, they'll go to an ethnic store. That's what they call. They'll go to an ethnic store, right? So I gotta. And when they say that to me, they think like they're being so nice and respectful. Like, hey, we got better stuff than the ethnic store, or we got the same stuff as the ethnic stores. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always
yeah.
laugh when they use that terminology. Like when I
The
first
ethnics.
out on my own and I have to get hair products. Oh, we have an ethnic section. What is an ethnic section? That's what I don't understand what that means. And it's like, oh yeah, oh, are they eating? This is ethnic food. No, it's not. Let's stop that nonsense. And I know,
absolute nonsense.
and they're trying to be polite or politically correct, but it's so annoying when you go to stores and you see that one half of a section with all the stuff and most of it is locked up. Like,
Mhm.
do you
Mhm.
really think I can't get away with post, but I can go here and why? It
It's
just makes no
ridiculous.
sense. And that,
And
yeah, go ahead.
no, no, go.
You were talking about people going to Danford and stuff because it's easier to get. You don't feel pressured or you don't feel like it's awkward to buy your own stuff. That's what most of you said. People go to Danford, and that's why
Mhm.
one of the reasons they will never get much sales unless there's nothing left on the shelf. That's when people buy there and go and spend $9 and $10 for anything in a
It's
jar.
true. It's true.
We're
And
here. We're here talking to Mr. Kwabena William Johnson, and he is the owner and operator of African Queen Grocery Store, and it's in Brampton. It's in Brampton. Black brother out there, doing his thing. Talking on the thought of COVID here. So, what kind of things? What did you have to do in terms of the COVID protocols that you did? We're gonna show your social media. Oh, okay, it's up. It's Can I put it up, Shay?
yeah.
All right. So where have you here on Instagram? You just talk, what did you do in terms of COVID? Like, what are some of the protocols they put in place?
I know on my story, like daily, I would show that I come in half hour early, sanitize
Mm-hmm.
everything. We put up
Okay.
barriers. We
Mm-hmm.
ensured that mask before mask was even mandatory. We ensured that because the store was so small, we ensured that masks have to be like you have to wear. You should adhere to the mask unless you have a medical condition. And I wasn't too stringent on that. I'm
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
doctor, so I didn't think. But I asked people to just respect and be like, hey, if you have a medical condition, I'll respect that. But if not, can you just toss on a mask so we can so
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
safe, right? So the distancing, putting up the barriers everywhere, the constant cleaning. Like I wanted people to come in and smell Dettol.
No.
I know there's a few, yeah, as you see, right? If you go down a bit, there's some like I have time lapse videos showing me cleaning the whole place, right? So if you go down towards the start and then towards the middle, I didn't want people to get too exhausted. I just would put that on my story. But I know some of my
Mhm.
first videos, you'll see me cleaning. It's a time lapse video. It's about 45 minutes of just me cleaning, making sure that everywhere's mopped. I've got all the handles right. And already in a black household, man, my mom used to padlock that door in the morning. Saturday morning, there was no such thing
Yeah,
as going out till everything clean.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
This
so
man said Dettol. Oh my goodness.
yeah, so no, you had to come in and say, yo, if you came in and you didn't know what that smell was, I had to look at you a little bit like, hey,
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna take
you
your
have gloves
black
in a
card.
mask, brother? If you came in, you didn't know what that smell was, like, hey, do you have gloves in a mask? Because you're supposed to know what that smell is automatically. Go
Yeah,
down.
man.
It's a few. There's one. Keep going. Uh, yeah.
Okay.
So like every day I'd have some of these on my. This is 45 minutes of cleaning done into a minute, and you can see there's customers that came in.
Right. Doing your thing there. Some of the pictures that you put on here, like, is just how do you decide that which ones you're gonna put on Instagram and all that sort of stuff, or social media? Like,
So
just random.
I no, I do a lot of field testing through like my stories, and I see the stories that get a lot more traction. I'll be like, okay, these are the products people look. But to be honest, starting next month, because I'm rebranding and doing the website, I'm gonna have every
Hmm.
product, so you can see every single thing we have. It'll probably that
Hmm.
story highlights. It'll be in those little
Right.
circles in the highlights. So just so you could get a vision of everything, because you never know. Someone like today, I put up okra, and
I was
a couple
about to
people are like,
ask you
hey,
what's up with that? What's up with okra? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Some people they're like, oh shoot, I've been going to the stores and they have only the dingy little okra left. I said, oh yeah, come see us anytime, right? So and what I do, I try and have things that are not that they won't have in Fresco or they won't have fresh, like
Yeah.
that they don't care much about, right? So
Okay, you got the okra there. You got some fish there. You got the. I don't know if that's a snapper. What's this?
That's chopped spinach,
Okay, okay, okay. I couldn't read it.
2 for 5. Yeah,
Uh,
the fish has been a heavy seller. It seems like a lot of people are coming off meat. Fish has been selling a lot, and well, we just came out of Easter, right? So
mm,
snapper, Jesus Christ, oh
mm.
man, snapper sold like crazy.
Enough fried fish, enough brown
Yeah,
stew fish. What is
snapper.
the name?
We sold over. I want to say in the last 3 weeks, over 214 boxes of snapper. So snapper has
Wow.
been a heavy hitter.
So what? People come in and order it in bulk, or how do they do it? Like in terms of ordering
So
something like
what I
fish?
do on the side, I reach out to caterers and I say, hey, I want to bring down your costs and I also want to increase my buying power. So I'll hit up caterers and I'll
Yeah,
be like, hey, if you cook a lot, why don't we do business together, right? Instead of going to the Asian market, the more we do
yeah, yeah.
business together, that means my buying power goes up and your cost comes down, right? But we have to start
Mm,
somewhere.
all right.
Um, so yeah, that I've hit up a lot of caterers, and that's what I'm looking to do in the meantime because I'm gonna do three set days of deliveries: Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, where I'm just doing deliveries. If you want
Is that a
meat,
feature? Is that a feature that came about as a result of COVID, or you're always doing delivery?
no, I think COVID really helped with that
Yeah,
because a lot of
yeah.
people don't wanna travel as much. People are trying to
Right,
avoid
right,
outside, right?
right. What about the whole curbside pickup thing? You do that too?
Yeah, most
Okay,
definitely.
okay. All right. Well, so talk to us. Well, before we go, because I want to ask you in terms of where you're trying to go with this. I mean, you have this establishment in Brampton, right? And
Yeah.
I want to get your. But let's look at the other social media. Um, so this is Instagram. What else do we have,
hmm
Shay?
That's the Black Business directory.
Yeah.
And this is where I just reach out to black businesses and I just offer them promotion free. And I tell
Mm-hmm.
them it's gonna be free for now, but as we build traction and as we build our page,
Mm-hmm.
there will be a cost to it. But why I have this here is because oh you know about ton of sauce?
Turn up hot sauce? No, I don't
Yeah.
know. Is that good hot sauce?
Yeah, that's good.
What makes it so good? What's the?
This the heat, it has tropical flavor, so like have mango with a little
Okay.
heat,
Okay. That's what. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I
pineapple
like
with a
that.
little heat, right?
Yeah.
So with that page, what the idea was what is to, like I said, the only way we're gonna come out of where we are is through economics, right? So I want
Mm-hmm.
us all to be empowered economically. So if
Mm-hmm.
I scratch your back, and this was I'm doing this for two reasons. One, I want to be able to have other people who I can do business with circulate. So it's like an
Mm-hmm.
interview process. Through this, just through these simple interactions, when I give them simple instructions of what to give me, what I need for their advertisement, it's like an interview. I see who's good at following instructions, who takes their content and their product seriously, and then I see the people who, they just throw together anything, and it's like, okay, your business won't survive if you don't put some honor and some prestige to it, right? So it's one, I use it to network and build other businesses, and two, I use it as like a screening out and interviewing process of businesses that I'd maybe like to team up with later on, right? Because
Right.
the more of us accumulatively doing things economically, the quicker we could come out of this thing. Then we could start getting together and saying, hey, you know what? We're gonna put all our money behind this politician, and he's not gonna be scared to say black. He's not gonna come and say, um, he's not gonna come and say people of minorities and people who live in disproportion. He's gonna say black. The black people here
Mm-hmm.
need this, this, and this. But that can only happen if someone feels like if they put your concerns and your complaints forward, that there's no recourse when they do that. And if there is recourse, the community takes care of them. Oftentimes, why our politicians can't talk for us is because they know the crooked system we live in, and the second that you try and bolster your people, they pull your chain, they yank your card. So you have to water it down, and then it's like, okay, yeah, I want to do something for black people, but we could toss in the Spanish food. We could toss in other minorities, right? But other minorities have their own coalitions. They have their own centers of things
Yeah, they
that are
have their
working
own
for them,
network.
right?
That's
And
true. Yeah.
they have their own networks, and we, quite frankly, we don't. Everywhere we go, even the things we specialize in, we export it and go to other people. Like black hair, for instance, we've exported to people. Our music, we make the most influential music. Like if you want something new, a new style to go to the whole lexicon, put it on the black rappers, black athletes, this and that. You see within 2 months, everyone, that's the newest shoe. I just figured this out about Grey Goose. Grey Goose was one of the cheapest. Was a cheap vodka, and someone had a genius idea. Said, you know what? Diddy's doing a big video. Put this vodka in this video.
Mm-hmm.
It was hypnotized from 1997. 2 years after, like a year and a half after that video, Grey Goose all of a sudden is a premium thing. It's the same goddamn liquor as Sky Vodka, right? So it's just how they market things. It is.
Right, right.
It's just how we market things, and we are so influential. We have so much style, so much grace and mystique to us. Like everything we do, like we just put a certain swag, a certain taste to things, but we never reap from it. We get exploited, right? Our music's been exploited to the point where you hear rappers and stuff that will they'll have hits that make hundreds of millions of dollars, and 3-4 years later they're broke. That's unacceptable. No other community will let that happen to them. Our athletes, we have our athletes that if they try to speak up, then they get reprimanded, and then they're out of the league forever. It's like, huh? We make this league, and then I speak up on truth, and now I can't play no more. It's ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous now. We gotta start having our money so they can't reprimand us and do that stuff.
True, definitely.
Well, I can definitely see the kind of passion that's driving your business. But in terms of we have a few minutes left here. Where are you trying to go with this? I mean, are you trying to open another location? I don't know if you have a restaurant. You don't have a restaurant that's attached to this store. Like,
No.
what are you trying to do ultimately?
Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have us be as independent as possible. Meaning, I'm trying to have as much businesses connected with each other. So if you open a chicken shop, I want to be the liaison where you get your chicken from. And because I've been dealing with so much caterers and all this stuff, I want you to be able to integrate and do business with them. If you're gonna open a mechanic shop, I want to be so ultimately, I just want us to be economically empowered. It starts with me with my grocery store. I get to network with people who are in the food business. But why I have that business page is because I want to be able to see other black businesses. So I want to see who the auto mechanics are, the auto detailers, who does cosmetics, who does hair.
What about the grocery store itself though? So
I'm looking to expand. So I'm looking to have because the way I look at it, we already have two, right? My mom already has one.
Right.
And then we have one in Brampton. We want to look to get one in Toronto somewhere, and then we want to look and go to cities that like I'm hearing a lot of people are moving to Shelbourne. We're thinking our next one should be over there, right? Yeah, I hear a lot of black people are there, so I'm thinking, you know what? It'll be smart to put a store over there, just to accommodate them, right? Because some of them are telling me they're driving 45 minutes, half an hour just to get simple stuff, right? So we want to start with that. We want to have our own chains, right? We want to be a place. We want to be like No Frills, right? But better.
Right.
I want to be to a point where I could
catering to our own. You know what I mean? Our folks want a certain kind of food, and we want to be able to cater to them. I get you.
Deeper than that, I want to be able to. I want a 15-year-old child to say, my first job was at African Queen. My first job was at this supermarket. Why it's good to have those things in place is because even like God forbid if our children get in trouble and stuff, once you get that scratch on your record, you're screwed, you're done. But that doesn't happen for other communities because you might have an uncle who's like, yeah, he messed up when he's 19, but you know what? I own a construction company. I'll hire him.
Yeah.
We don't have that. You screw up your record, that thing, you're relegated to working in a warehouse or doing something that's if you want high money, doing something that's risky. Because a lot of us don't have business acumen. So even if we were to get in trouble, we have a scratch on our record, it just makes it so much harder to navigate through anything else. So that's where I'm looking to go, where we are economically viable by ourselves, meaning if you have someone who just came from incarceration, they can't find a job,
Mhm.
I'm gonna take the chance on them because other communities do that. Um, if if and I and so I want to be so intertwined that I know who the real estate agent is who can help you with getting a mortgage. I want to
Mhm.
be able to help you with the guy who could get you a zoning permit because I going through all that was hard trying to find the right guy who would deal with you with some dignity, right? Because you're doing business,
Right.
right? You hate when people just look at you like you're a number and it's like, yo, hurry up, like it's like, who wants to do business like that? To them, it
Right.
might not be big money, but this is money that you've been saving for a long time. This is money that you know someone might be giving back 3%. I'm giving back 7%. I take this very serious, and it's hard to do business when I feel like you don't care about what's going on, right? So where we want to go with this is we want to enterprise. We want to start with the grocery store, but we want to have multiple businesses in multiple industries. Why? Because another thing I focus on economics is I know a lot of these youth get lost wayward because
He think he dropped internet, maybe Wi-Fi, maybe bad.
You want
African
to wait?
Queen.
Yes.
We can wait. We can chit chat a
We'll
little
wait a
bit. We only
minute,
have
and
a.
then if anything, we'll just yeah. I'm gonna
All
show.
right. It's located in Brampton.
Yes.
For some reason, I was thinking that the location is in is in Jane and Finch, and the man he used to live in Jane. Oh boy, technology is something else, folks. Sorry about that, but that's Kwabena Williams Johnson, and he is the owner and operator of Caribbean Queen. To my American audience, yeah, this is Toronto based, right? I need to get some folks from over here on here, man. So that we
West
can
Hill,
cater.
Toronto. Um,
Yeah, I know.
show the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's this Instagram here?
Yes, this is Instagram.
Mhm. Oh, there. Yeah, there. Okay. African Queen. Look at it. Caribbean grocery. Ready to go. So the last time that we saw this, and I was talking about, I was correct, man. It's just that we when he was opening and all that excitement over there.
Yes, it's 8975 McLaughlin Road South.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so it was a good interview with Mr. Kwabna, man. It was a good interview. I'm happy to hear that things are going well with him and that the
Definitely for sure.
store is huh?
No, it's definitely for sure to see another, a brother working hard to deal with all the forces against him and to come out on top. But then we're gonna wrap up.
And it's another oh yeah, and it's another a business that started during COVID. Look at it,
Yes,
A lot
definitely
that
something that's prosperous.
we've been getting a lot of those. All right, so we gotta jump off, folks. We've reached that time. Until what next week? We'll
Yes,
be back again with another interview.
at 2 p.m. Check us
I
out on
hope you all.
YouTube. Check us out
Yes.
Facebook. Check us out Instagram. Blackbuzz.to.
All right, and yeah, keep remember like, share, subscribe, like, share, subscribe. Don't just check us out. All right, like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you're interested in coming on, send a message, and we will link with you. All
Definitely.
right, take care.